Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Roll Down, a Teamfight Tactics podcast. My name is Cutler, and today, without any semblance of imagination or inspiration or even will to discuss Teamfight Tactics, we're here at the end of our tether, at the end of a long patch, ready, willing, and some would say able to discuss and dissect exactly what's going down. I'm joined by my number one, my side piece, my better half, my best friend, and the love of my life, Sol. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, everyone?
I've been practicing my introductions, of course, in our week's break.
That was good. It was good.
The most important thing, guys, is that this episode is going to be very one-dimensional. What we are talking about today is the patch notes for the next patch. Nothing else, not much else going on. We're going to talk about what was, what will be, and what will forever be known as the end of patch 11.23. So, talk to me a little bit about your TFT week. I mean, off camera, you were just telling me about a pretty great run of games that you've had recently. So what's been going on?
Yeah, my run's been pretty insane. I think I'm on like a 14-game win streak where I haven't bot fought in literally 14 games, which is kind of crazy. I don't think I've been playing that well, to be completely honest. I've been getting coached by Angora, and he's just been like highlighting how, and I've just never felt more exposed. Would be the way to put it. But results have still been good. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of the current patch, but I am looking forward to it ending.
Yeah, guys, basically what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the Riot More patch rundown. If you guys have it, if you guys are listening to the audio, you guys feel free to sort of click along, but we're basically going to be going down and discussing the patch in its entirety. I'm going to hand over to Sol, who is going to sort me out on that one, and we're going to just get going.
Do we need to turn me up? Is my volume good? I'm a little quiet.
I just turned you up there, so let me.
Okay, sweet.
Let's see how that goes.
Okay, all right. Let's dive into it. All right. So the first the big change with next patch, and why I'm really excited for it is the system changes to the augments. So now the trait-based augments, most notably the heart augments, and I believe so the heart augments now grant a champion from their trait. We can start with that. So that's gonna be all of your what's it called? All of your silver tier trait augments are now going to give you a unit that corresponds with the trait. So for example, Assassin Heart will now give you a Talon. Chemtech Heart gives you a Zac. Bodyguard Heart gives you a Leona, and etc. etc. Yeah, it's just a straight buff to Hearts, obviously, as before Hearts only gave you Hearts didn't give you anything other than the trait. But yeah, so we can start with that.
Great, yeah. Let's go down the list because I'm very interested to hear sort of some of the back end. Let's sort of chat about some of these ones.
Some of these are insane. Some of these are super nutty.
Yeah. So let's go down the list, and then we can sort of pick out a couple maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. How about I just read it out? So Assassin Heart gives you a Talon. Bodyguard Heart gives you a Leona. Bruiser Heart gives you a Frontal. Challenger Heart gives you a Warwick. Clockwork Heart gives a Zillion. Enchanter Heart gives you a Tarek. Enforcer Heart gives a Vi, surprisingly. Imperial Heart gives you a Swain. Mutant Heart gives you a Cogmore. Protector Heart gives you a Blitz. Scholar gives you a Alessandra. Scrap gives you an Echo. Sniper gives you a Tristana. Syndicate gives you a Zyra. And lastly, Twin Shot gives you a Graves. And I believe, I don't think it says, did we get Arcanist? Well, Arcanist gives you a TF. I know Arcanist definitely gives you a TF.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of info there.
So the ones that Yeah, sorry.
You go first. I was going to say, we both want the same thing. We want to break down what we get here.
Yeah. So the ones that immediately jump out are the ones that give you a 3 cost. Because 3 costs are obviously very, very powerful. Especially if you get them at a very early stage of game, like 2-1. So the ones that immediately jump out to, I think, anyone looking at this are going to be things like Bodyguard Heart giving you a Leona, Enchanter Heart giving you a Tarek, Scholar Heart giving you a Lissandra. That one's quite big. That unit's really, really strong. Scrap Heart gives you an Echo. That unit's also really, really strong. Yeah, so we can start with that, I would say. Oh, and Chemtech Heart gives you a Zac. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into a lot more of this because a lot of the units have been changed, nerfed, buffed, whatever it may be in the next patch.
Yep.
So we won't a deep dive, but you're totally right about the 3 costs, especially when you hear Zac and Leona, especially, I think, sort of more frontline related champions that you get out of this. I think it's very important to have hitting an early 3 cost frontliner is really beneficial for basically stage 2 and often stage 3, because you only need to hit 2 of them instead of 3 of them to have a really strong upgraded board. So most importantly, I think we're going to probably see a slightly heavier interest in building around these traits that give you the 3 cost early on.
Yep. I think one of the things that's kind of interesting that I think I can draw attention to is that I think we're going to start to see the econ-based augments start to get a lot more balanced in comparison to the other augments. Because right now the game is in a state where the econ augments are significantly better than the others. Like things like hyper roll, rich get richer windfall, level just anything that puts you ahead of econ, like clear mind, basically anything that accelerates your leveling, right? You aren't really punished for it right now, because other people's boards just don't spike as hard in comparison. But these changes to these hearts fundamentally make it so that taking a heart will spike your board, because get a guaranteed unit, and you also get a guaranteed trait you can play around. So I think that's gonna be I think that's already a really good start.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that some of them only give you a 1 cost. I think that we may potentially see things like Twin Shot giving Graves, and maybe Arcanist giving TF.
Yeah.
Change a little bit. I would have liked Arcanist to give a Swain, for example.
So Arcanist giving TF I think is fine. TF is a pretty good unit. Twin Shot giving Graves is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I can't sugarcoat that one. Twin Shot giving a Graves is really bad, because Graves as a unit already doesn't really use Twin Shot very well. He's more of a util, sort of tanky crowd control kind of unit. He's not really a damage unit. So yeah, that one's a little sus.
Yeah,
the other one's all solid. But, yeah.
Twin Shot's also not a trait that we've seen any interest in really so far as a chase trait to go for. It's not it's not sharpshooters of previous sets, that kind of thing. I think it's very, very underpowered, especially with the units that use it, because they don't have innate synergies in a lot of ways.
I think the trait is good. The problem is that the units that play it are very good. It's really just Urgot and Jinx. Right?
The early ones.
Cog,
they don't pair well together. They don't pair well together
at all. They really don't. Graves Cog GP, right? They really don't play that well together at all. So that's the main issue. I actually think Twin Shot as a trait is quite powerful. It's basically just Blade Master. We've seen from previous sets, Blade Master is really good. So I don't think Twin Shot the trait is the issue. I think it's the units that are quite underpowered for the most part.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that made Blade Master so good was the type of units that it was on. It wasn't on range units. It was on units that were up in the front. Yeah, except for Kale, obviously.
Except for Kale,
so if we sort of think about the way that those
Zaya, sorry, we forgot about Zaya as well.
And Zaya, of course. I guess from what we're really talking about here is that there's no consistency for Twin Shot.
Right.
You can't build around it in the early game, because you can't play 4 Twin Shot in the early game, because your board's gonna look weak and weird.
I would say it's not a vertical. It's a purely horizontal trait, right? It's never I'm playing Twin Shots this game. It's more I incidentally fit Twin Shot in for more damage.
Yeah, and if you want to take this you're probably just waiting until you get Gangplank to keep until your end game board anyway, really. Because it's the best one. I don't think like holding a Graves 2 or a Cogmore 2 is very viable.
I don't want to be like a negative Nancy, but I'm pretty confident Twin Shot Heart is just not very.
Yeah.
Cool. Like, okay, you know what? Hold on. I can add a caveat. I think that like it can be good like later on in the game, like once you've already established direction. Because I mean, like if you hit Twin Shot 4, then it's like fine, but like that's always the case. So like,
yeah,
I don't think that's that important. Like, if we're talking about like how useful is this at 1-4, I don't think it's very good at 1-4. But yeah.
If it does allow you to splash in for Twin Shot at the end game, and you're already playing Urgot, you know, that's great. That's great. No worries. It's like a
no-brainer, right? It's fine. But I think we're more focused on how this impacts the early game, right? But at which point I think it's very
especially because we're seeing a lot of changes to the early game now, especially.
Absolutely.
I think we should go on and talk about some of the other the changes to the early game as well.
Sure. I mean, we did just touch on hearts. There is also a change to how the next tier up behaves as well, with the trait-based augments. So they're basically getting reworked to basically called crests now, and they essentially give you a either a spatula or an emblem of the type instead of giving you. So for example, wait, am I being dumb? No, sorry. Being dumb. I got ahead of myself. That's like with the souls. Completely recall what I just said. The crests, the ones that give you a spatula, behave the same way as before, but they also give you a unit from like the list we just listed. Since I did touch on that topic, what is different now is that the prismatic versions, also known as the souls, have now been reworked to crowns, which basically give you, instead of 2 of a trait, they give you 2 emblems of that trait. So, for example, if you take Assassin Crown, you get 2 Assassin emblems instead of your team counting as having 2 more Assassins, which I think dramatically changes the way that the tempo of prismatic lobbies play in the early game, right? Like, can you imagine, like, you take Chemtech Soul, like, early, for example, and you just immediately have 2 Chemtech stats to play around? Like, that's kind of nutty.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that change. I like that change from a couple of different perspectives. I think it allows the players to have more control over their board, which is always nice. And I also like it from the perspective of fun. I think it's probably more enjoyable from a player-on-player basis. There's no way that like having an extra 2 Chemtech emblems is not more fun than just your something lighting up on the side of your screen, you know.
Well, Chemtech emblem is like one of the most powerful ones. Like,
and it's certainly very flexible.
Like, in terms of how it's like it just synergizes with specific units, right? Like Chemtech Tom is insane, Chemtech Jace is insane, Chemtech Storm is probably insane. Literally Chemtech anything is insane. So yeah,
absolutely.
Be like frontline plus Chemtech, it's just insane. But yeah, for sure. I think that like I'm gonna go out on a limb. I could be completely wrong, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that like this single change to how the soul augments behave will single-handedly like make prismatic lobbies feel like way better to play from a high elo sweaty like competitive standpoint. Part of the issue right now is that non-trait based prismatic augments feel pretty good to play. The trait-based ones, especially at 1-4, feel really, really bad to play because, like, let's say for example, like you get like you're at 1-4, you got prismatic, right? Your shop is literally like Socialite Soul, like Bruiser Soul, and like Sniper Soul. What do? Like you have none of these units on board. Like you can't play around anything. It's like what do? But now imagine if you just got emblems instead. In the case of Socialite, you just get 8 gold, which is still good. 8 gold early. That's like a lot of playability, right? Like let's say instead you got 2 sniper emblems, well now you have like infinite room to play around. You can be like, oh, we can like sniper this unit that's like normally not really like that completely interacts differently with sniper spat. Or it's like, oh, I put bruiser spats on a bunch of things and now they get the bruiser health bonus. So yeah.
Yeah, really cool. Really, really cool. I'm really pleased that this change is like happened because like I said, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for creativity and flexibility like within the player. And that's really important. The set had lofty promises of like choices that you make mattering very, very strongly. With the meta that we've just seen, it's not a fail because there's plenty of time left.
It's not a fail.
But
It's definitely not a fail.
You can certainly see where the problems, like where the cracks could be if they hadn't fixed it. So I'm very pleased that this is one of the big changes that they've made. You know, like giving more player agency is really important.
Yeah, like just to like really briefly touch on that point, like the right now, like we're at a point in the game where there are a lot of games right now where you basically don't have any decisions to make when it comes to picking an augment.
Yeah.
The augment choices are literally like one flexible option, two extremely narrow linear options that are basically unplayable. So it's like, okay, cool, just take the flexible option. I think this is really gonna open it up to be like, okay, cool. Do I want to commit to this? Do I want to, pivot? Do I want to do this? I think that's gonna be really, really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's for a game with so many possibilities. Right now, there's a lot of stuff that's already been figured out. Like for a set that promised innovation and possibility and pivotability and reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of room for them to fix that, and I think this goes in the right direction to make that very possible.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, did we want to keep going?
Yeah, let's keep it going.
I think we'll go. I think so. Those are the main changes to augments. It's mostly just fixing up all the trait-based ones. One important thing actually that I do want to touch on that we haven't touched on yet, is the changes to Innovator Soul and Innovator Heart. So we have Innovator has been nerfed, but I think it was nerfed in a really, really elegant way. So instead of going after the 5 and 7 Innovator mech units, so instead of going after the stats on the bear and the dragon in particular, they instead decided to nerf the augments, which I think was actually the real issue. So the way they've done it is that Innovator Soul and Innovator Heart can no longer be offered to you as an option at stage 1-4. It can only be offered to you from stages 3 and onwards. I think this drastically changes how you play Innovator, because now you can't just randomly hit an Innovator Soul at 1-4 and hit 5 Innovators by the end of stage 2. I have a dragon at the beginning of stage 3-1.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a very elegant change, and I'm really happy that they arrived at that as the solution to fixing Innovator, because I think Innovators is still gonna feel good to play when you do hit. And it's also not just gonna be a complete no-brainer. You just force it brainlessly when it shows up at 1-4. So.
Yeah,
I
want to talk quickly about this because I have played a lot of Innovator. This is a really big change. This is like a huge change. Right? This is a huge change to the ability of the tempo of every lobby. And we'll see a very different side of the game when there's not 3 people with 5 Innovator at 3-1, basically, I think now.
Yeah, exactly.
One person's like on 60 health and donkey rolling for Katarina. We won't really see that anymore. We're not gonna see 3 people with 5 Innovator.
You're not gonna see 2 people with dragons at the start of stage 3-2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not gonna take 15 damage every round from a dragon, basically.
I think it's a great change.
It is a good change. It's a necessary change. I'll be interested to see how this affects the overall balance of of the Innovator creation, the mech, as it were.
Yeah, I think it gives them a lot of room.
It does.
Make them strong, right? Yeah.
It does, and I think that's where the power should be. The power should be in the difficulty to hit it and the satisfaction from getting it. So taking some of the lessons that they've learned from the past, where mech, we're not gonna reminisce too much. I'm not gonna call mech the sweet spot because mech was overpowered.
Let's be real, mech was broken.
I'm not gonna call mech the sweet spot, but in terms of difficulty to achieve related to strength and enjoyment of play, mech was much closer than Abomination.
I think 3.5 mech they got it right.
3.5
mech they actually got it right. When they put the power back in the pilots, so they were actually playable as units, but the mech was still strong.
Yeah.
when like everything was 2-star. 3.5 they got it right for sure. Yeah.
So I actually, technically, I think we need to see. Honestly, with what we have, we need to see closer to 3.0 mech for the
3.5.
innovation.
3.0 mech.
Yeah,
Right,
for
okay.
the innovation, not for the units.
Okay, sure. Okay,
I think
sure,
the
sure,
units
right.
need to be like 3.5, where they're weaker.
Okay. Yeah.
But the mech, the creation needs to be stronger. Is basically what I'm saying.
That's that 3 then. 3.5 the
Yeah, that's
units
what I
were
mean.
much stronger and the mech was weaker until everything was 2-starred. And in 3, the mech as soon as it was like built was extremely strong, but the units themselves were like absolutely unplayable.
Yeah, so that's probably more of the. And that wasn't balanced. Don't get me wrong. Mech was broken for the entirety of set 3 and 3.5.
Yeah.
It was never in a state where there was nobody playing it. Basically, it was always good enough to play.
Yeah, I mean it was good like in 3.5, but I think it was like just
it wasn't the best comp basically. It needs to be closer to the fantasy of creating a big unit basically.
Agreed.
This gets us closer to them being able to change the numbers around this. I still think that probably the bear needs to be a little bit better than what it is right now.
Bear?
Yeah.
I think they can put more power into the stats of the bear and take away from the buffing ability of the bear.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm more than happy with that because right now it feels like the bear just is like a buff bot and it doesn't really do anything other than just stand there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It either lives forever or it dies immediately. And I also have the same problem with the dragon in the late game. If you frontline the dragon in the end of the game, sometimes it just dies.
It dies surprisingly quickly.
Yeah.
That's what I realized. It does surprisingly quickly. But the dragon AoE fears though, so I mean.
Yeah, it does. I do think that the power fantasy of the dragon needs to be in its ability and not like. Not just the fact that it's got a lot of health, basically.
I guess like fair.
You could like cut the health of the dragon significantly if you really wanted to, but I think that the power fantasy should really be in its raw.
Yeah, like the identity should be in the AoE fear plus like giving your team infinite stats. Like, that should be its identity. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, let's move on. Let's get on to traits. So, big traits. The big changes to traits. Challengers getting nerfed. The 2 challengers staying the same, but pretty much the 4-6-8 thresholds are all getting a decent amount of attack speed percentage pulled from them. I think it's like 5, 10, and then 15% pulled respectively from each tier. I mean, I think that's like pretty fair to briefly touch on it. Like everyone is like anyone's played ladder in the past like week knows how broken Yone is. So
yeah,
I think that was a bit of a no-brainer.
Mort said something interesting in the patch rundown that I wanted to quickly judge on. He touch on. He said that they were happy with how strong Yone was as a unit, but they were very unhappy with how strong Challenger was as a vertical trait.
Great, yeah. Yone should be a good unit. He's a 4-cost, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the problem is right now the challenges with the way the vertical challenger currently works is that the fights are too snowballing. Like when challengers spike right now, your team dies in like 3 seconds and you take like 16 to the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really bad. So I think that's fair.
Agreed. I think that that's a fair assessment of Yone, really. That you want the power to be in Yone as a unit. And I think that it's interesting when we'll get onto it later, but they are rebuffing Academy. And I think that we'll see sort of a shift to a similar variant that existed at the start of the patch. Away
like
from...
Academy,
or 4 Academy, 4 Challenger, or 6 and 2.
They're
both equally viable basically, but I just think that we're gonna end up. Yone is probably gonna teeter-totter somewhere between always too good and always and very splashable. I think you're gonna see a lot of people kind of add Yone in to.
He's just an insane unit. Like he's just one of the best melee carries they've ever printed in my opinion. He's just.
I think so. Unit. Definitely think so, and I'm pretty sure that as long as they're happy, which is what they said, they're happy with Yone as a unit.
They are happy with Yone, yeah. Which means that GA interaction is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
that's literally never going anywhere. Just keep that in mind.
It's weird.
It's weird. Fine. To be honest, I've made my peace with it. I actually think it's fine. I think challenge is the issue, but yeah.
They had a unit that did exactly the same thing that they deemed unfair. So that is my... Yeah.
But Aphelios was a 4-star carry in a reroll comp, so that behaved completely fundamentally differently.
Yeah, but
You
even
funneled
2-star
all your
Aphelios
power
was
into
too
Aphelios.
broken.
Alright, it's okay. I don't want to get. I don't
Yeah,
want to.
let's not reminisce too much. I will just say that Yone's still going to be really good, basically.
Yeah, for sure. He's still going to be really
because
strong.
they're happy with it. You know, they're happy with how Yone is, and I think that getting rid of, I don't know, getting rid of is the wrong word. Prioritizing challenges away from the vertical dream, I think is much healthier for the game as well. Like hitting challengers as a chase opportunity off Prismatic should probably be where the power level feels more fair.
Yes, agree. I think I'm happy with 8 challenger blending your entire team in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Not happy with 6 challenger blending your team in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
It's so easy to hit 6. It's so freaking easy.
Agreed.
Hit the 6 board.
Yeah.
The 8 board takes a lot more work, which I think is fair.
Mm.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Because I'm gonna get stuck talking about Yone. Okay, so Clockwork just got a buff at the 4 and 6 thresholds from 30 to 35 and then 55 to 70 at 6. Like, it's fine, sure. It's just a small buff to like Gen comps. I don't think it's like particularly interesting. Mutant, the Blade Master Mutant, from 33% to 40% and then 66 to 75% chance for extra attacks. We haven't really seen Blade Master do too much. There's a really, really fringe Blade Master Cho'Gath comp that abuses how Colossi units work with AD scaling, because they get a lot of AD. But other than that, there's not really any mutant comps that really use Blade Master particularly well. Cogmore, you would think he's good with it. He's not. I don't really understand why, but he's not.
Yeah. Cog's really interesting. If we can reminisce quickly, Sol's been streaming a lot this week, and you've been running into quite a lot of Cogmore.
Have.
What? This unit. This unit. What? So, I don't know where the idea that Cogmore is a good unit has come from, because he doesn't kill anything. I don't see it kill any units.
Cog 3 is actually not that bad. Cog 3 is actually kind of good. The issue is Cog 1's not a unit, firstly. Cog 1's just straight on playable.
Yeah, agreed.
Cog 2 is pretty bad. It's okay in some situations. Like, if you hit it early, you're never happy, you're never like excited, oh, I hit a Cog 2. Like, I learned recently from Angora, like, you can run Cog 2 in your Urgot comp while you wait for Jinx. That's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise I'm never running Cog 2. And then Cog 3 is like, fine. He's like, good.
Yeah.
Enough, you know? Like, especially if you play the Protector reroll comp, hit everything else. And Cog 3 starts to feel like a real unit, like when you got like a Rage Blade going and everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
That takes a lot, right? Because it's not a good mutant, really, is it?
Not really.
Like,
not really.
You never carry it when you're playing mutants. Literally every other mutant is probably better, except for maybe Cassidon, you know.
Mouse is the good one. Yeah, Mouse is the good one.
And there's, I mean, if we sort of talk about alternative metas, people in China are currently basically using Cog 3 as an item holder for Kai'Sa. Really. In mutant. You know? Like, they're basically playing mutant reroll, but then after the second they hit Cog 3, they fast 8, find one Kai'Sa and sell it.
Kai'Sa, and then just pivot, yeah. And yours is the Cog beats Inno, and then it one-attacks the dragon with that item. Oh, that's that is true, though. Like, the Cog percent, like, max HP damage is kind of useful sometimes.
Yeah.
Unit.
Free win. Free win into a lobby full of innovators. But, however, we're seeing a big innovator change that's going to make that less likely. So, useless unit.
As a actual carry, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay util. It's actually not that bad util, but it's like not that good of a carry.
Yeah, that's it. All right, let's go on.
Chemtech is interesting. So Chemtech is actually getting reworked now. So, I like it overall. So now Chemtech, because currently the way Chemtech behaves is that the thresholds are time based. So like each threshold increases the duration of the actual buff. It's now getting reworked to a flat 8 seconds. And it now has scaling attack speed instead of flat attack speed at each of the thresholds. So you're going from 50% flat to 25, 50, 75, 100 at each of the thresholds. You're going from flat 4% HP reduction regeneration to 3, 4, 6, 10. Yeah. And I don't know what they did to the damage resist. I think they got rid of it, like the damage reduction. I think they got rid of it. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's been taken away now. But yeah, I like the changes. I'm actually a fan of it. It was felt kind of weird, but I think a bunch of chem techs just made it last longer and didn't actually make the buff any better. So I like that this gives you a reason to chase like 7 and 9 chem tech. So
yeah, I like that. I like
chem
that.
tech looks kind of scary. 100% attack speed, 10% HP regeneration.
Yeah.
It's only 8 seconds though, but still.
It is. It is. I based on what we've talked about already, Chemtech it seems like it's in a pretty good spot, you know, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially with the ability to get a Zac, like to get a Zac out early is very good.
Yeah. A challenger player, I noticed a challenger player called Tamura recently posted a Chemtech guide on Reddit that I thought was pretty insightful into playing the comp. Yeah, and I mean, the takeaways is that just stronger sports, safe HP, and not a lot of gold, basically.
Fair enough.
No, I think Chemtech's in a good spot, and getting early Zax and Lisses is.
It is really good. I'll tell you what, Chemtech hard is really good for refusing to play Twitch.
Wait, really?
Like taking Chemtech so you don't have to play that shit.
No. Twitch is actually good.
No. Don't talk nonsense to me on this. This is ridiculous.
No, trust. Twitch 2, he got me to 5-1 this, like, even one of my
No way, man.
It was actually because of List 2 with Morello, but, like...
Right.
But Twitch 2 also did some work.
So you had a Twitch on your board, is what you're saying, when your Lissandra was killing everything.
I had a Twitch with 3 damage items and 5 chem tech, is what I'm saying. But
yep.
It was not that bad.
But it was doing the third most damage every time.
Okay, no, but the takeaway, though, is that Twitch is good if you play it with chem tech. It's not very good if you don't play with chem tech.
Yeah, right.
That's actually the takeaway. It is actually good with chem tech. Don't play without chem tech. Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
Dude, look, I'm bringing up Angora so many times, but it's just I learned so much from it this week. Like,
look, I mean, after we had Angora on the podcast, he's been in here every single week, checking in with us, seeing how we're going. He's been chatting to us. I mean, he's been coaching you. I mean, I think he might be our new best friend.
I'm down.
If not, I mean, he may as well be the third person on the podcast.
the hidden. Angora's Twitch probably on cost. I'm actually inclined to agree. I think it's kind of good, but especially after the targeting bug fix. I think
when they fix the targeting, that's when Twitch becomes reasonable again.
It is really the targeting bug that's holding him back right now. I think the targeting bug fix actually, because he hits backline. That's the main thing. Right now, he hits like backline for half the HP, and then he randomly starts shooting a frontliner, and you're just like, bro.
Well, Twitch was good for that sort of 3 days when you could reroll for Twitch 3 and like kill everything in the backline when the targeting actually worked, and you actually killed all the units in the backline. Look, we a lot of the chat on the Twitch right now, guys. By the way, if you do listen to the podcast, we are live every Tuesday night, twitch.tv/CutlerTFT. A lot of the chat is talking a little bit about what's coming up next. So let's keep going with the patch, and we'll get into some of that stuff. We'll keep rolling.
So this one I'll touch on really shortly. Innovator is getting a slight nerf. It's just 25 to 20 bare AD and AP buff. So I mean, it's a nerf, but it's not too big. 75% to 40% dragon crit damage buff. That's a really big one. So dragon's still gonna be obviously really good. AoE fear, like it's got a free QSS on it. It's gonna be still really strong utility. But your units are not immediately just gonna be able to like delete everything once it like rolls because of the damage buff. So,
interesting.
I think that's gonna make the Seraphine sort of store comps probably a bit worse. I think so, maybe?
Significantly.
It probably makes it a lot worse. Yeah. I think Jin is still in a decent spot if you play inner Jin. She just has really high numbers to begin with. But yeah.
I also think
that would be my initial impression.
Buffing for Clockwork is actually really good for Jin because it makes Clockwork Heart like a reasonably Clockwork Emblem and Clockwork Heart like reasonably viable takes.
I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah. So I think playing 4 Clockwork's going to become slightly more standard when it comes to Jin evaders.
Yeah, I can see it, especially if you get the spat right. It's like pretty easy to fix.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So we're going to be covering 1, 2, 3 cost champions. So I'm going to kind of speed through this, and we can just sort of try to dissect it instead of going one by one, just to save some time. So Garen is now Garen's getting a nerf. He's going from 20 to 15% spell percent missing HP with his spell damage. Trundle is getting nerfed from a 50% to a 25% spell attack speed slow. and his AD steal is getting nerfed by 5 and then 10 at 2 and 3 star. X is getting a damage. Wait, is that her damage? I think that is. Yeah, she's getting a damage nerf, a shield nerf, and a shield scaling nerf. So 3 hits to Vex overall.
Good.
Katarina is getting a pretty hefty nerf. From 225 to 200 damage at well the 1 star's getting nerfed. Not ahead of myself. We'll just go from the top. 180 to 160, 225 to 200, and then 300 to 250. The 300 to 250 is the big one. That's a lot of damage, especially when you consider Katarina as an execute based champion. And then finally, Shaco is getting some much deserved buffs. He's going from 650 to 700 HP, 50 out of 90 to 40 out of 80 mana. His spell damage is going from 75 to 90, 100 to 110, and then 125 to 130.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that's this slide. So I'm happy to sort of, whatever jumps out to you.
Triple nerf to Vex is very necessary. Very necessary.
Yeah, very deserved, and I'm pretty sure she's still good.
Yeah. And I will say that whoever of you are out there that's listening that tried to play Cat in a lobby where you knew there was another Cat player and you went bot 4, and you lost and you felt really sad, you're the reason that Katarina hasn't been gutted. She's just been nerfed. Because now it looks like she's not the most broken unit ever. She's just pretty good because of her win rate is actually like relatively reasonable. You're right though about You're right about the 3-star though. The 3-star being nerfed by such a significant amount. We'll also see that Ionic Spark gets a relatively big nerf. To be completely
honest, Katsura was honestly pretty... I mean, it was not too unreasonable after the hotfix there. I will agree that Cat, like, pre-hotfix was really, really egregious. I mean, post-hotfix, like, Cat would, like, rarely top 2 lobbies. And I mean, the real issue was how consistent of a top 4 comp it was. But, yeah. I mean, we've discussed this last episode. But
yeah, turning it down a little bit is fine. I think that Vex is probably still fine.
Vex is still good. Vex is for sure still good. But should a Vex 2 with like Bramble just be randomly like deleting your entire frontline and like tanking every single attack? Probably not.
Yeah, so I feel like you can like Vex 2 being like your end game singular tank is probably like not going to be a thing anymore. Basically.
Yeah, and I think like ultimately like that kind of super tank is kind of unhealthy for the game as a whole anyway.
Yeah.
But, she's still gonna play Vex. Vex is still gonna be really good. She's still probably gonna make it in your end game comps. She's gonna need to play other frontliners as well, other than just Vex.
Yeah, and that's fine with me.
Trundle,
I think.
Yeah, the Trundle nerf I think is pretty reasonable as well. We've seen Trundle 3 in particular do really well. Partially as an answer to Yone because Trundle 3 sort of soft counters the Yone because it just steals the AD. But yeah, I think turning down Trundle is also reasonable. The Garen nerf is weird to a lot of people because 1 and 2 star Garen are really, really bad. But Garen 3 does a lot of damage. I don't know if you guys have seen Garen 3, but that unit with BT sort of just randomly one-shots everything. So I think that's honestly fair as well.
I think the idea is you have to be punished for playing a reroll comp. Basically. In the sense that like the 1-star and 2-star units of the 3-star versions, you shouldn't be like 80 health at 3-4 or 3-5.
Yeah.
With the non-upgraded versions, basically.
With the exception of Garen that we're talking about here. The 2-star versions really should not just be instant like stabilized. Which is what 2-star Katarina, 2-star Trundle, and 2-star Vex.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It was just insta stable the minute you hit them. But...
Yeah, no. So I'm talking about specific 1 costs here.
Oh,
I think that So just from Garen's perspective, I think that like 1 cost 1 star and 2 stars need to be weaker.
Okay, sure.
The longer it, you need to, your board needs to be worse for having them on your board the longer the game goes, basically.
Right, sure.
So there needs to be a realistic understanding that those units are a little bit weaker, basically, as the game goes on. Because you can't just sit on Garen 2 for 11 rounds, because you can sit on a lot of the 2-star versions of that protector reroll.
Garen's the example I would use, but I do agree with you. There are some like one cost 2 stars that are really good, but
yeah, I just think that like overall, what brings that comp together is how easy it is to hit those. hit all of them. So I think that there needs to be some concession where the nerf reflects that.
So
basically.
I think, right. So I think, right. Look, the big takeaway from this, in my opinion, is that Maud and Kent really want units to have like distinct roles. Like they should do what their role says that they should do, and they shouldn't multi-role essentially. We'll dip into this later when we talk about Galio. But like for example, Garen is a tank. Like his identity is a frontliner. Your frontliner shouldn't also be a DPS that's just randomly one-shotting everything as well.
Yeah.
Is sort of the idea behind this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, which I'm inclined to agree. I think that's fair. But we can briefly touch on Shaco. Shaco's really bad this patch. They buffed him like last patch and it didn't do anything. He's still really bad. I don't know if these nerfs bring him back into viability. Buffs. I don't know if these buffs bring him into viability. What jumps out to me is the 40/80 mana instead of 50 out of 90. So he's gonna be repeat casting a lot more. That could potentially bring him back to early PPE days.
Yeah,
Shaco,
it's interesting.
We'll have to see.
There's a couple of items that have changed as well. Not too many, but there's a couple that we could see on Shaco. I don't know if we will, but we could, basically. I'm not sure about it. I'm really not sure. It needs to be put into practice.
I can't say. It's too complicated. Like we will act, like that's one of those like you're gonna have to play it to see how it feels.
Yeah, the game is not as front to back as it was when Shaco was last good.
Alright, moving on. So we're gonna get into like the more juicy ones. The forecasts. So Fiora is getting a pretty decent buff from 70 to 75 AD, 160 to 170% spell AD percentage. Jin is getting sort of a semi-rework. It's kind of a nerf, kind of a buff. He's getting a mana reduction from 0 out of 80 to 0 out of 70. He's getting AD nerf from 95 to 90. His spell is getting nerfed at the 2-star from 225 to 200% spell AD. Lux is getting a nerf, which makes serious sense, by the way, from 30 to 20 mana refunded on per kill. Orianna is getting a buff from 80 out of 100 to 50 out of 140 mana, but she's getting a slight nerf to a stun, so they're moving her to more of a damage identity. Sion is getting a straight buff, 1750 to 1850 HP, which is insane because of Colossus scaling. The stun is getting buffed from 2.5 to 3 at 2-star, and then 5 to 6 at 3-star. So yeah, we can same format. What's jumping out to you?
The Jin nerf is interesting to me, and I guess it's because that they've sort of relatively overall buffed the supporting cast of Jin. They buffed Clockwork and Orianna. So they probably wanted to bring Jin slightly in line with some basically what is going on around him at the moment. I like that. I think that's fine.
I do think it's not even that big of a nerf if you think about it, because like he ults earlier now, so like he does less damage, yes. He also just ults earlier now, and we all know how freaking long Jin takes the cast. So
yeah, exactly. I like that. I will say I think Fiora's maybe one to keep an eye on potentially. I like Fiora as well. It's hard because
I don't know if Fiora carry is going to be a thing. I don't think so. I like the direction.
Basically, the biggest issue that Fiora has is that she has the same scaling supplements, aka AP, as the 5 cost, which is multi-target as opposed to single target.
Yeah.
So Kai'Sa is just a multi-target, better attack speed, AP holding unit. Really.
It is a good point. And I do want to touch on this because I was actually randomly thinking about this the other day, as you do when you're addicted to TFT, about what the point of Fiora is as a unit. Like, what is her identity? What is she actually using? I think I figured it out, and I think that like I like the direction we're going in. Fiora should be a single target like nuker, if that makes sense. Like she should be a unit to go to if you want like one like of your opponents like one of your enemy frontline is dead, because she does true damage. And like she hits really, really hard, like single target, right? Like Fiora should be like your answer to like super tanks, is what Fiora's role should be, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it distinct from Kai'Sa, whose role is a hyper carry, who just scales throughout the fight.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what they've done here, right? They didn't like they didn't like buff the mana, which I think is wrong. Like I think you don't want Fiora permacasting. They simply made it so that Fiora does more damage, which I think is like what you want your Fiora to be. You want Fiora to be a unit that like if you start thinking about itemizing if you see someone with like a fully itemized like Mundo for example, fully itemized I don't know, like a fully itemized let's just use some random example, fully itemized Sion as an example, right? Fiora should be the unit where if you position correctly, you will like absolutely nuke that unit, and I think that's like what Fiora should be as a unit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the fantasy isn't there yet for Fiora, basically.
Not yet, not yet. I think that's what they should be aiming for.
But if they're gonna aim for that, then I quite like it. I just what is difficult to ascertain at the moment is she needs the same items as a unit that's just strictly better than her in the same tag, essentially.
Well, that's not necessarily true. She's really flexible, like item wise, because she scales with both AD and AP, especially with the AD scaling buffs with this specific patch, right? I think that like Fiora is a really good like spare item holder, like just whatever items you have left over in challenges, just plan Fiora, and I think that that could be her identity. I don't really think that's necessarily an issue, but yeah, I do totally see what you're getting at though. Like if we're thinking about like Beast Fiora as a carry, then yeah, you want like probably like I don't know a decap, a JG, an IE, but
it's just
really
it
needs to be there. Yeah.
At the moment, it's difficult to find where Fiora fits because if you wanna go for Fiora, then there should be a vacuum that Fiora is successful in. So you're right when she needs to find a significant identity. I think that's very interesting. I hope that they keep working towards that because she also has the Enforcer tag. You know, she has a disruption based tag.
I feel like she should be utility though, because I feel like Fiora as an actual carry as a fantasy is quite unhealthy. Fiora as an actual carry, which we did see a little bit briefly in PvE before they nerfed her mana, just perma alters, perma untargetable with the entire fight. I don't know if that's that fun to play against. So I mean,
no, that I agree with. I just think they need to find a balance. There needs to be a balance somewhere, basically.
Agreed.
Well, what sticks out aside from Fiora? What else sticks out for you in this sort of forecast?
This Lux mana nerf makes absolutely no sense. Lux is like we talked about it last like week. I don't want to shit on Lux the entire episode. Like, Lux is so terrible. The reason why she's bad is because she has very, very specific best in slot, being the crit items, and she also requires vertical Arcanist synergy to fully pop off. If those statements are true, Lux is good, but the issue is that the rest of the Arcanist comp doesn't really want to play like that because Arcanists kind of want to slow out the fight. They kind of want the fight to like continue for a long time. So you have things like the lasers, Pyric heals, Vex shield, and stuff to scale the fight. At least that's sort of how the AP comp is set has sort of played out.
Yeah, because you've got as much utility as you have damage, basically, in even the traditional like a vertical Arcanist, because you're always playing support units. I don't get it. Look, we had a 2-hour podcast last week, and half of it was basically why is Lux so shit.
I don't get it.
And then
Mouse 2 is better than Lux. I mean, what can I say? Mouse 2 better than Lux 2. Get it.
Lux doesn't have an identity because she once again is similar to Fiora, but not quite. She's significantly overshadowed by units in her same tree.
Well, the problem with Lux is that Lux can only be played as a carry as well. At least Fiora can be played as utility.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't even play. Have you ever tried to take like second, like just random Lux? It doesn't do anything.
No, exactly. If it doesn't have any, it basically is just like a line damage unit.
Yeah, it just doesn't do damage. It just tickles things, and
yeah.
Anyway.
Well,
Lux.
Jesus.
This one I think is big though. I do want to bring the attention away from Lux. I want to direct it to Sion. I think the Sion buff is insane, and I think that like it's kind of cracked. Though. Thoughts?
Yeah, they Mort in the rundown spoke a lot about like being really worried about the power fantasy of Colossus again because they're basically all receiving straight buffs. But at least this time, Sion's not a damage dealer. Basically. It's going to be good. Yeah. It's going to be really good. It's going to be probably too good and it'll be turned down. But it's not going to one-shot everybody. That's fine.
No. I'm okay with having another frontline in the game. These buffs look pretty good.
Like we said like we said last week, if you're going to take up 2 spots, at least make it worth my fucking time to play them.
Right. Yeah.
Like, make it worth my while to get rid of 4 units to play 2 tanks that die instantly half the time, you know? Like, you want the fantasy of these big things that don't die. You know, Mort. We'll get on to Galio later, but Mort had a lot to say about Galio, so I'll save it for them. But there's a vacuum of power that is missing from them right now. So Orianna as well is a big one, like you just said. The inconsistency will still plague Orianna.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like that Ori gets to cast more now, and I ideally would prefer to see her shift to more of a carry role than a purely just a util role. Right? It feels like there's a lot of units that I just like, especially in the enchanter category, that are just util like shields or CC bots.
Yeah,
it would be nice to have another like AP carry like option, but yeah.
Yeah,
I don't feel like there's too much to say about Ori other than she's on the weaker side and plus might make a difference.
Yeah, it helps, that's for sure. She's very inconsistent because of her targeting. So if you want to give me Orianna carry fantasy, like that's what you want to shift her away from utility towards more of a damage dealer. At the very least, you've got to make it. Yeah, you got to make it worth my while. Like make the ball smaller, like make the shockwave smaller, but do more damage.
Yeah. Ori's like, and like the thing about Ori is you can actually position for Ori as well, because Ori always ults the biggest comp of your friendly units. So,
yeah.
And she's like not that unhealthy as well, because she's like her design is she's front to back. She's always gonna ult your clump first, so she has to get through the front line before she can start ulting the backline clump. But yeah, we'll see Ori carry out. It becomes a thing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think that Orianna is actually one of these rare units that benefits really heavily from Exiles. Exiles is like really good overall. We haven't sort of talked about traits too much, but when you don't have to clump your own team, Orianna's targeting becomes infinitely better because she doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
She doesn't hyper target your board first. So you play against people without Exiles when you have Exiles, and she's a lot more better.
Enemy clumps.
Yeah,
she starts hitting enemy clumps. Yeah.
And I like that for her definitely more than anything else, really.
Yeah, agreed. Alright, let's go to 5 costs. Alright, we're going to do some changes. So Akali is getting a buff at 1 star. She's getting more HP overall, so 800 to 850 HP. 1 star spell damage from 275 to 300. Jace is getting a nerf from 40 to 30 armor and MR for his hammer form. From 400 to 350 shield, and then 600 to 500 shield. And then his ranged form is getting a buff from 35 to 45, and then 60 to 70 ranged AD bonus. Victor is getting a nerf from 140 to 150 mana, and then he's also getting a damage nerf from 350 to 325, and then 450 to 425. Galio is getting a HP buff from 1800 to 1900, but a massive AD nerf from 150 to 120. Jinx is getting a slight nerf from 1.05 to 1.0 attack speed. And her second spell, her second star is 210 from 210 to 200. Percent AD. Yeah, there we go. Also, yeah, thanks so much, Kesh, for this up.
There's a lot there. Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Whoa. Okay. I think I want to address Galio first. I teased it a little bit earlier. Yeah. Mort hated Clapio.
Yeah.
Mort said on the rundown that he thought it was hilarious, but he didn't want it to be anywhere. He didn't want these units that were supposed to be tanks doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting mindset, because it is very clear that they feel that the way that the game is going, they need to make it so that units cannot be significantly overstimulated with too many roles, basically. They don't want Galio to have multiple options. They want Galio to be a tank. They said that they experimented with making Galio taunt when he landed. They said that they're going to keep a significant eye on Galio in the future because they don't think they've even got him worked out yet.
Very close.
What we said last week still rings true to me in the sense that they need to not bring this shit back in 6.5.
Great.
Because they cannot get it right.
We already know at this point. Yeah, we already know at this point. Colossus is not coming back, but yeah, I mean, we gotta make do what we have, right? But yeah.
Yeah, basically, what we've got now is a set of units that they'll be messing with for the rest of the set, basically. Which is, I mean, that's fine. We know that that's gonna basically be what's going on. But at the end of the day, it is significantly limiting for like design space and
Absolutely.
area of like importance that they're really missing out on here. They're going to spend a lot of time attempting to fix Colossus that could be spent on other things. And I don't want to whine too much, but I will just say that
I don't want to
these
just have on the
units,
Colossus thing as well.
these units should significantly impact. Units should be allowed to do more than one thing, really, but they shouldn't. It shouldn't be prevalent. They shouldn't have just destroyed it in an instant. Really.
I mean, I'm kind of torn on this, and I don't want to dwell on this for too long. Personally, I'm actually indifferent on this whole Clapio nerf, to be honest. I think that, like, it's pretty obvious Galio should not be an AD carry. I think it's hilarious that it exists.
Yeah.
Like, you are kidding yourself if you think that, like, Galio being an AD carry is, like, makes any sense at all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I like that it's really unique. I think it's really cool. No. I think it's really fucking cool. But at the same time, let's be real. This should be a tank. Now, what I will draw criticism is, this is a 5-cost tank. This is literally the worst 5-cost tank they've ever freaking printed.
Agreed.
This is the worst 5-cost tank they've ever freaking printed. So, I would have liked to see them have made this nerf after they had came out with a reasonable compromise, making Galio an actual good tank.
Yeah.
And now it feels like a really band-aid. Like, this feels like the Kale nerf from set 5, essentially. Where Kale was broken, they nerfed it to unplayability because, like, we don't know what the hell we're going to do with this champion. And then for, like, 3 patches, it was unplayable until they finally figured it. And then, this was very, very similar.
Yeah, and then they overbuffed it, basically.
Oh, for 1 patch, but then they got a twist spot afterwards.
Let me just say that the way that Galio currently is not good enough, really. They just need a little bit more understanding that it's wasting potential, it's wasting time. And look, at the end of the day, I don't even care that much. Like, I'm not a big Galio player. I don't give a fuck about. Yeah, and I don't give a fuck about Clapio. But why did they get rid of it if they didn't make Galio a good tank? You're exactly right.
Yeah, it's like taking away something without putting anything to replace it is the problem.
Yeah.
That's the issue I have here.
So Galio's going from an identity that they didn't expect, essentially back to no identity, without giving him any help. Unnecessary. I will just, let's talk about something else. Victor Nerf, necessary.
Victor Nerf is well deserved. I don't think we need to talk about that one too much. I think the Jinx Nerf is kind of weird, but kind of reasonable as well.
Yeah, I actually think the Jinx is very polarizing. I don't think she's that, like, 1-star Jinx.
It gets really good once you play Scrap Jinx.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played that one yet, but once you play Scrap Jinx with binary, that shit's kind of broken. You don't even need binary, actually, but it's really good when she gets played in Scrap Jinx. In Urgot, she's just your util secondary DPS. But,
yeah, and Scrap's another one that needs a little bit of love, really.
Because... Really? No, Scrap. No, trust.
No, sorry. I mean more like attention. Because what's going on with Scrap right now is very similar to things we've seen them do before, in the sense that, like, it shouldn't particularly be like an every game vertical, really.
It isn't.
Like,
it's we'll make it clear right now. It's not an every game vertical. You cannot force this Scrap every game.
Yeah.
Incredibly augment dependent. You need things like first aid kit to buff shielding. You need like binary. Binary is a big one. Like scrapyard to get extra components. There's a bunch of them, but like you need like scrap heart for extra, so you don't have to like play the shit scrap units. It is augmented dependent, but it's really good with even just one of the augments. So.
Yeah, so I think that there needs to be a little bit of a change to unit strength realistically as well. I think a lot of these augments are like masking over a lot of problems that a lot of units have at the moment where they're really weak. Akali is another one. Akali is barely a unit at 1-star. You cannot play Akali on your
Yeah, I learned
board.
the hard way. I learned the hard way. Akali one's
Like,
pretty bad.
yeah.
I learned this the hard way. Akali 2's good, but
Akali 2 is good.
Akali 1
That's fine. And
Akali
it's
1's
good that
pretty
they're
good.
buffing
Akali 1's
Akali
pretty
1.
good.
But what the fuck is the point of having a 5 like, realistically, 5 costs have a power fantasy that they have been getting wrong for a long time. In my
I mean, it's hard to
personal
balance. Give
opinion,
them the slack, but yeah.
in my personal opinion, the game is much more interesting and enjoyable when the additional 5 costs in your composition give you something different. They give you different things. They give you different outs. Set 3 and set 4 were very, very good for this kind of thing because you could play a lot of them.
Can I make an addendum? Set 3 5 costs were not very good, but set 4 high costs was really good.
Oh, I mean, some of the
set 3 high costs had things like Echo that literally like until they like fixed it really late was extremely like one dimensional. But yeah. Set 4 got it right. Set 4 got it right. Like we use set 4 as the example for 5
yeah,
costs.
and even going back to set 2 as well, I think that there was
set 2 5 costs are broken as well.
Yeah. And then, I mean, GP, MF, ASOL, they're all great, basically.
GP without items, GP without like upgrades, MF
you just needed demolition for GP.
Really. ASOL was good. ASOL was really good. Don't get me wrong, ASOL was really good. I don't want to turn this into a big argument because it's pointless.
No, it's just.
I got it right. Let's just.
There needs to be like the reintroduction of legendaries feeling legendary, because a lot of the legendaries in this set don't feel very legendary.
Really?
I
still don't even know if I agree with that. Jace feels like a legendary to me. Jinx feels like a legendary to me. Victor feels like a legendary to me.
Yeah, and that's because they're so much better than every other legendary.
Sorry, Force exists. Force is a legendary in this set. I don't remember anymore.
Exactly.
Galio is shit. Akali is good at 2-star. Am I forgetting somebody? Is that everyone?
Tom.
Oh, Yumi definitely feels like a legendary.
Yumi, bro. Tom, Kai'Sa.
Oh, Kai'Sa's also like needs to be itemized, but Kai'Sa's kind of like chaos, so it's fine. Time is in a weird spot. No man, I feel like you're giving set 5 too hard of a time. They're like, I'm okay with legend. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that like let's put a little bit of care, you know, a little bit of care.
Sure. Okay, I hear you. Alright, I think that's mostly it for 5 costs. I think Jace nerfs are well deserved.
Yeah.
Frontline Jace is still very good. Even with these nerfs, by the way, Frontline Jace is still gonna be good. Like, I don't even know if this is enough. Like, Frontline Jace is still super. I think you just get clapped less by 1 star. Frontline Jaces.
Still don't play backline Jace, guys. There's no need. It sucks. It sucks.
Alright, let's keep going. Items. Blue buff. Buffed. We talked about this last week. Thank God they didn't make it 60 mana. It's 50 mana.
Yeah.
From 30 to 50. I think it's a lot more balanced. 60 sounded ludicrous to me, but yeah. I think it's just to show quality of life, this one. I don't know if you want to say something on it, but yeah.
It's really weird that blue buff is getting such a significant buff considering how good it's been in previous sets. Like, we're doing a bit of reminiscing. It's a bit unnecessary because we're so far ahead in the game now. But imagine if this is what blue buff did like 6 months ago. set 3, set 4, set 5.
Yeah, it's set 4. Set 4 was the set for blue buff because all the broken legendaries use blue buff. Like Kayn and Yone and stuff, they all use blue buff.
Yeah.
But blue buff started to fall off ever since set 5, to be completely honest. But, like, I mean, look, the thing is, blue buff is always going to be dependent on the units that can use it. But I think this 50 starting mana is just a quality of life because it makes it so that like it's not limited. Like the high mana pool carries like actually use it, which makes sense. This tier, like, right? Like, in what world does should tier not like give you a bunch of mana, right? Like, it's completely unplayable currently on units like Victor. That's just not ideal.
This is an item that I'm gonna put this out there. I think that it could be useful on Shaco. I don't think that it will be good, but I think there's a reason to believe that units with a 50 difference between starting and going and like starting mana and casting mana will make this better, basically. Yeah. It's an instant cast for Shaco, basically. After jump, it's an instant cast. Yeah. So it's not a solve. I don't think it's like great,
Yeah.
But I think that there needs to probably be a little bit of experimentation with blue buff going on right now, because there will be
Yeah.
something that can use it very successfully.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to quickly address Unreal in the chat, saying that dislikes Runa without on hit as an item. Just to really briefly go on a tangent, Runen doesn't proc on hit this specific set because of a bunch of interactions with a bunch of units this set. There's a lot of units that if Runen procced on hit, or would be really, really broken.
Yeah, they specifically did it to me.
There.
They specifically did it to balance it around this set,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. I'm just gonna leave the conversation there. There's a bunch of units this set that if they had Runen for on hit would be absolutely broken.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be an on-hit item. And what Fish is saying in the chat is that it should probably feel like an on-hit item, and that I do agree with. I just think that they're quite limited by their design of some of the units in this set.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Frozen Hot. From 25 to 35% attack speed slow. I think it's good. I don't know if this buff is even necessary because I feel like Frozen Heart's not even bad, to be completely honest. I think Frozen Heart Echo is actually like really, really strong. And in a Yone meta as well, Frozen Heart's already really valuable anyway. So yeah, I'm kind of indifferent about it, but I feel like this might be a bit much. But yeah.
Yeah, this is too much.
It's a lot, right? 35% is a lot of attack speed.
The reason that it's not built significantly right now, aside like as much as it could be, is because chain is so valuable. You basically need double chain for Bramblevest in every game because there's a cat player kicking your ass.
Yeah. It's hard to justify burning a chain right now, right?
Yeah, it's always been an item that was really good when chain wasn't highly valuable, essentially. So with the sort of less emphasis on like crit-based Katarina, for instance, wrecking everyone's boards early on, you might find yourself with more spare chains. And we know for a fact that because like Lux is shit and she's like the best AP blue buff item holder, you know, like you're not struggling for tiers. Like you're not going for 3 tiers every game basically. So I think this is probably too much. I think by next patch it'll be 30% and we'll say that was fine.
Yeah, I really would not be surprised with either a revert or toning it back down. This is I feel like this is a lot. I'm gonna be slamming a lot of Frozen Heart Echoes. Let's just say that.
Yeah, exactly. Because they haven't done significantly much to Echo either, aside from like an attack speed nerf, basically. On ability. Yeah.
Even without like slamming Frozen Heart Echo, by the way, like this is buff scrap Echo because you just put a chain on Echo and like orange is the Frozen Heart. It's insane. But yeah, let's keep going though. Those are the only item changes, so yes, I think they are.
There's a nerf to Ionic.
Oh, there was a nerf to Ionic. It was like in small, right? But we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Large. I think we covered a bunch of these already. I did cover the Innovator. We did talk about Innovator already. Duet got fixed. Now, firstly, Duet got fixed, so the Socialite bug with the double squares is just gone. For anyone who doesn't know, Socialite was bugged. Basically, both squares were active, just one of them wasn't visible. You just had to find it. So Duet as an augment just didn't even work. The new Duet has been buffed, and now in addition to granting a second spotlight, gives a bonus 500 HP to Spotlight champions. This is quality of life. It's good.
Yeah.
Item grab back got nerfed. It no longer grants reforges. As much as it pains me and it just feels bad, I feel like I reluctantly agree with this decision. Your thoughts?
I think that it's gonna still be fine. I think that this is hard. The bonus, I'll get a nice little reforge for any time that I want it, was like really nice, basically.
Really good. It's really good.
Now you're stuck with your shit item, basically. But you're not always gonna get a shit item.
Right? Yeah, and you're taking it at 1-4. Most items are not shit at 1-4 is the thing. It's an item, right? Like it's hard to not be able to play around it.
Exactly. What's like real? I guess the only like bad stuff is probably like ice cream cone.
It's not even that bad, right? RFC I think is the worst, but even
RFC,
then, it's still playable. It's still like 50% attack speed. Like it's not the end of the world. Like you know, you're up an entire item at 1-4. Like it's not even that bad. So
yeah, it's necessary, but it'll
Necessary
require
feels
a
bad.
little bit of getting used to, I think.
Yeah, it's necessary, but it feels kind of bad. But yeah.
Basically, you're taking item grab bag just to like try and high roll a defensive item. Like, if you get Sunfire out of it, you basically just win the game. Really.
1-4, yeah, it feels pretty good.
Like,
Yeah, you get
oh
your first
my
Sunfire,
god, oh, it's too good.
Done.
It's too good.
Yeah,
So
for
you're
sure.
basically just going for that, really. Like, what else are you doing? I don't know. It's fine. You'll miss it, but you can still get them. It's not like they're not available to you anymore. Like, you can still get a Reforger.
Yeah, exactly. You can random reforger anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's keep moving on. With augments, augment changes, that are not the ones that were not related to the system changes we talked earlier. Spellblade, is getting reworked. For those that don't know, Spellblade, now, it was the one basically earlier, like in this previous iteration, it's the one that rewards arcanists or auto attacking. So like they auto for like I think 50% of their AP or whatever. But now it's been reworked. After they cast their ability, their next attack deals bonus magic damage equal to 200% of their AP. So, for those of you who play League of Legends, it's basically a Lich Bane. Obviously, we don't have that specific item TFT. That is the item that it's essentially based off of. Yeah, March of Progress is now being changed into a Prismatic, which I actually like a lot. The Prismatic version now gives you 5 XP per round instead of 4 XP per round. And finally, Windfall is getting a nerf from 20 to 15 gold at the first threshold, and then a buff from 30 to 35 gold at the last threshold.
Yeah, like we said at the start, there's a lot of emphasis on nerfing the gold generating augments. Thank fuck. Thank fucking god, man. It's so necessary.
Yeah.
It's gonna really change the game a lot.
Yes.
In favor of sort of slowing down a little bit. Like, the game's gonna slow slightly in the early game. It's not gonna feel so fast paced anymore. I think that's a good
Really?
thing.
I
Not
feel like it's the
as.
opposite. I actually think it still accelerates the game because of the soul changes and stuff. Like if we're talking about prismatic lobby, because we are talking about the windfall nerf, right? But in that case,
Yeah, for Prismatic,
uh,
I mean,
uh,
that's a hard one because
I think it just gets closer. I think the lobby just gets closer. I know the point
yeah,
you're getting at though. Like I fully understand what you're getting
you're
at.
bringing power. You're bringing power to a slightly more even level with people who take souls, basically.
Yeah, that's more or less what it is. Like it just makes it so like you feel less bad when you don't hit an econ org. I think that's the
Yeah,
key takeaway.
yeah,
The lobbies will still feel like that's what I mean when I say it accelerates the lobby tempo because then everyone has a good board. So instead of like 2 people randomly taking like 50 damage, the damage is more spread evenly, which I think feels a lot better, right?
yeah. Agreed.
I think the March change is nice. March is really powerful, especially when you get a 1-4. It's extremely strong.
Yeah.
Much gold. It's like an insane amount of gold value. And like the old version felt kind of bad because you couldn't really ever hit level 8. Someone did the math in the new version, you hit level 8 slowly, slightly off curve. You still hit level 8, so it's not too bad. So I like it.
Yeah.
And it feels appropriately powerful for a prismatic. Yeah. I don't know if you think so, but I think it's like still.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine the way it is.
Yeah.
It's better to make them prismatics anyway. The gold generating those kind of having them in the gold tier of augments just means that like half your games are like high rolled.
Yeah.
So because prismatics are harder to find, it feels better. It doesn't feel as bad when you're in a prismatic lobby because everybody is on a relatively like higher level playing field. As opposed to like gold, the way that it currently was, where you could get like chemical overload, tome of traits, or rich get richer. You know what I mean?
Rich get richer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slam! You know, and then somebody else has got like target dummies, sniper, or like mercenaries do bonus damage. You know what I mean? And then then it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm way behind. Yeah. All right. Let's carry on.
Let's keep going. Give me a sec. All right, sweet. So I'll just really briefly touch on Windfall. That I think the nerf is pretty fair, but I think that this actually pushes Windfall to being. Ooh, it's probably still good, but it's definitely might be on the weaker side now because it's at this point, like once you get to the 15 point at 1-4, it's like barely better than Rich Get Richer.
Yeah.
I know Rich Get Richer, you don't use it for the 6-7 econ, but at the same time, like Rich Get Richer is a gold augment. This is a Priz augment. You expect a lot more
Yeah.
out of your prismatic. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know about this 15. This might be too weak. There's a chance. I think 20 was in a sweet spot where it's still really good, but didn't feel overpowering.
Yeah.
That's what it was bugged. 25. All right, let's keep going. I don't want to talk too much about all the small ones. I kind of just want to blitz past these. Academy, Bruiser, and Arcanist getting buffs. Academy specifically at the 2 threshold, Bruiser at the 3 threshold. Arcanist 8 is getting a buff in specific because 8 Arcanist is fake right now, so it's reasonable to make it better. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about these? I feel like these are all pretty fair.
Yeah, it seems reasonable. I think the Arcanists give Lux some fucking help, man. If you're gonna nerf Lux and she's already a shit unit, like fucking help her out in some way, like please.
Great.
So yeah, it seems fine to me.
Good kill. Alright, traits, yeah, so small changes to traits. I think it's what Imperial gets a Imperial 5 gets a buff. One plays Imperial 5, so yeah. Twin Shot gets a buff at 4 and 6. I like it. Gives you a better reason to play Twin Shot. Gives you a better reason to take Twin Shot augments. Syndicate gets a small armor and MR buff, but a nerf at the 7 vertical. Kind of weird because I feel like we saw 7 vertical Syndicate completely fall out of favor. And weird decided to nerf it, but I guess
maybe the data is that it's still really good. So
yeah,
I just think nobody's playing it. I don't even think that it's like I don't even think that it's bad. I just think that no one's playing it.
No one's playing it
because you realistically wanted Echo 3 for the comp, and you couldn't get it because there was always like 2 cat players in every lobby, and a scrap player. You know, so there's too much reliance on Echo, I think, for that comp, because ideally you needed like Syndicate Heart and Syndicate Emblem and Assassin Emblem to make like your dream, basically. So, you know, realistically, it's probably okay to nerf it. I just think that now people are still not going to play it, basically.
Yeah.
Because of the nerf. I think if they had just left it, it probably would have found its way into the meta in some way or another, and then they could have judged whether or not that it was like overtuned or undertuned. But I think this is a preemptive change, expecting that it was going to rise in popularity.
Yeah, and that's always still kind of risky. I mean, because it feels like you might just be killing something that you just don't need to.
Yeah, agreed.
Alright, let's keep going. The 1-cost changes, I actually like a lot of these. Camille from 50 to 60 mana, I think it's like really fair. I think Camille is like easily one of the best 1-cost tanks. So nerf the mana bit is reasonable.
Can she still solo 1/4 with an extra 10 mana?
I don't know.
Probably, right?
I'm not a Katarina DJ, so I would never know.
Yeah, understandable. I would say that she probably still can.
Darius got a small nerf, pretty reasonable. I think Darius is quite. Kassadin gets a nerf to the Mana Reeve at 3-star, which I think is fair.
But a 1-star buff, right? A 1-star buff for Kassadin, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's just it's a flat 50% Mana Reeve now, which it's fine.
Okay.
Blitzcrank got buffed. Not buffed, sorry, when I said buffed. Blitzcrank got nerfed. The 3-star version doesn't just instantly delete units anymore. Good.
Thank
Cog
fuck.
1 and 2 got Cog 1 and 2 got buffed, Cog 3 got nerfed. Again, Cog 1 and 2 are not units. Cog 3 is on the stronger side, but I mean, to briefly just talk about Cog again, I think the Cog unit is actually good. It's just that the units around it are kind of bad. The Cog 3 ends up not really being able to do anything. Cog 3 is also a victim of its environment where he gets randomly killed by Sins and Yone all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's also an issue. It's not that the unit itself is necessarily terrible, but
yeah.
Zyra gets a buff via the cast being faster, so the delay is it's slightly reduced. I don't know if this was necessary. I feel like Zyra was already a good unit, but it's fine, I guess. 3 costs, Cho'Gath gets 100 HP buff. Sure, no one plays Cho'Gath. Echo gets a well-deserved nerf. Echo is easily my pick next to Lysandra for like some of the best utility units in the game right now. especially in the mid game. Like Echo bridges your mid game so well. Heimerdinger gets a nerf. I don't know why. I feel like no one plays this unit, even though it's good.
I think Heimerdinger is
Yeah.
a
Nerf?
a nerf, another preemptive nerf for the targeting
Yeah,
being
preemptive nerf, right?
fixed.
Yeah, it feels like that. It feels that
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Because Heim Carrier was picking up quite a bit of steam actually,
Yep.
before the targeting bug. So
Mm.
yeah, I think that's fine.
Lissandra's damage got nerfed. From like a bunch of numbers went down. What jumps out to me though is that I don't actually think this is that much worse at all because Lissandra's strength right now is like H is like what is an insane holder, and the other big thing is that like she freaking reduces 80 by 40%, which is such a high number, and they didn't change that at all. So I think Lissandra's gonna continue to be a premier unit moving forward. Slight nerf to Samira with AD, slight nerf to Tarek. I think Samira and Tarek are reasonable, but I think this list is kind of dangerous. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like leaving. Okay, I know we had this list discussion last week. But
yeah.
If you're like in the week that's passed, I know you haven't played as much, but I can tell you my experience on ladder in the week that's passed. I've seen so many lists. Like lists is easily like.
Yeah, I've definitely like after sort of a week of research and not really playing, I've definitely seen the priority of Lissandra rise really heavily. Do you think she's getting away with it a little bit, maybe?
She's getting away with it because the strength of this unit is not the damage. It's the 40% AD reduction. Like
yeah,
it's so much AD, dude. It's
Dazzler,
it's
basically.
Yeah, it's Dazzler. It's so much AD reduction. But...
And she's also getting significant bug fixes as well.
Yeah, she's getting unbugged as well. So yeah.
Maybe they could have done more. We'll have to wait and see. I probably in line for a hotfix. Actually, I think everybody will be spamming Lissandra for the first few days.
I can see it. Yeah. Urgot got a buff. I think I remember reading in the notes that he got a nerf to his spell, but this just looks like a straight buff from.
Yeah, they reverted it. They changed it. They were talking about wanting wanting you to have the power, feel the power of the tank busting more effectively, and they didn't want you to get stuck on a tank forever, basically.
Okay. In that case, I love this change. This is brilliant because Urgot takes so long to cast. Much deserved Yone nerf, 580. I think that's all they really needed to do to Yone. The real problematic with the problem part of Yone comes from Challenger, not the actual unit itself. The unit itself should be good, but it's broken because of Challenger.
Yeah, the unit itself without because you don't run Rageblade anymore, right? Like it was like flavor of the month for a few days, but it's not really necessary because of Challenger. So just now, without the high level of challenges, you're probably going back to Rageblade. Maybe with the big nerfs. Maybe. So you're also getting rid of a damage item spot, I think.
Well, you're not trolling anymore if you build Rageblade on Yone. Before, when you play vertical, you're straight up trolling if you build Rageblade.
Yeah, exactly. I just think the main point that I'm trying to make here is that you need a defensive item, and now because you're probably not playing 6 Challenger, you need Rageblade. So now you only have 1 item instead of 2 flex items. Whereas reasonably you were having IE Runans or Last Whisper Runans on an on-hit, basically Runan style item. Now you don't have it anymore. You basically have to. You don't have to play Rageblade, but you're less effective if you don't. I think right now, you're basically going back to sort of Academy style Yone, where you actually do need to ramp up quite significantly.
I think that will remain to be seen. I think a bigger thing that might make Yone much worse is the prevalence of Lissandra. I think that might be the
thing. Agreed.
That might be the big thing that makes Yone fall off because hot take. I think Urgot next patch is going to be insane. Lissandra's still insane. Urgot got buffed. Targeting bug is fixed. Not my words. Urgot might be
back to being good.
Alright, Ionis fuck nerfed. Very reasonable. All items buffed. A bunch of all items buffed. I'm pretty happy with all these. Manazane jumps out to me. The starting mana buff is really nice. Gold Collector nerfed, thank God. 1/4 Gold Collector is so broken. But
yeah.
I like this one. This was really nice. I really like Broken Stopwatch being moved to a gold augment instead of a prismatic. It's a lot better and more appropriate for its power level. Your thoughts?
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed.
It just felt too weak at prismatic, but now it's good. I think it's good. It's just not a prismatic level good. And,
No,
and it feels a lot better at tier 2, yeah.
I agree with you.
Cram Session got buffed. I don't really know why, but I guess they're trying to put some more power in Academy. Featherweights 1, 2, 3 all got nerfed, which I think is very, very reasonable. And Old Reserves got buffed. Plays that shit out. There's a lot of bug fixes. I'm not going to read them all out because there's infinite bug fixes. Long story short, big ones are targeting bug got fixed. So everyone doesn't know the targeting bug basically happens when your unit casts, and then it will immediately change targets from the one it was shooting before. The quick swap has finally been removed from the game.
Oh, thank God.
You see this one? Quick swap is finally removed. Not that it matters. I think quick swap this.
No, nobody quick swaps anymore. Nobody quick swaps anymore.
Instead of quick swapping, you cringe.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of other bug fixes. If anyone wants to know, they can look up the patch.
Realistically, the important things are here that the bug fixes, you have to think of them like buffs, basically. Because essentially, they are, when they're active, they're nerfs. Because they do something that directly disenfranchises your units. So, saying that targeting has been fixed is basically like saying the game that you were playing 2 weeks ago that became totally different last week is now back, essentially. So you have to be aware that some units that fell out of popularity, and I think that's probably why there was nerfs to Syndicate, Heimerdinger, Zyra, those kind of units, because they're probably going to be a little bit better than what they were previously. And Ezreal. Ezreal's a big one, early game. And then, yeah, Lyssandra's the other big one. Lysandra getting 2 bug fixes where that her ult exists.
Yeah, the ulti.
Basically, it's kind of just like fizzling out a lot at the moment, but it won't do that anymore. Whenever Lysandra casts, she will do her damage now.
Yeah.
So, have to keep that in mind.
I don't want to be like Sky's falling down or anything, but
I think Lyssandra's in line for probably a big nerf, either like immediately the day, 2 days after the patch, or I
really just want to see the Dazzler percentages toned down because I feel like Yone might be unplayable because of Lysandra. Like Lysandra might single-handedly gatekeep Yone because Yone got nerfed like in 2 buckets, the Challenger and the AD. Whereas Lysandra, which was the answer to Yone, is completely untouched. So
untouched, technically buffed because her abilities are getting fixed.
Sure.
So
okay, cool. So I think that pretty much wraps up the patch rundown. It's a very big patch because
they've been away for a while. It's been a month of the same game.
It's gonna be another month of the same game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're going to answer one question that we got from the chat during this, and then we're basically going to get out of here. So Saber wanted to know, what do you want to see added to the mid set? I know it's still far out, but still. So we're getting Silco, and I want to reframe this question a little bit. Do you think that they should add characters from Riot Games properties outside of the League of Legends archetype that they steal from, basically? What do you tell me first? What do you think about like Silco being added, and whether or not you'd like to see that?
I love seeing Silco added. Actually, I think that's really cool. Me, I do not want to see other Riot IPs. Why does that RP? Riot IPs in TFT. I think TFT should be.
There's no room for Riot Games roleplay at all.
No. I think that the people in like the units of TFT should be from Runeterra, but I don't think that they should be limited to champions. And I think what they're doing in Silco is really cool. I would love to see like a lot of like people from Runeterra that are mentioned in different champions' laws, but are not actual champions. There's a lot of them. There's actually a lot of them.
Yeah, loads. But you don't want to see like Set 9, SpongeBob SquarePants, X, Naruto.
I want to like Killjoy show up in my game like as like some kind of like echo with an assault rifle and just like randomly shoot my team down, okay? I don't need that. Yeah. Killjoy's the GP. Sorry. I was thinking of Phoenix. Is that the one? No, Phoenix. Sorry, Killjoy's the GP guy. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. I want a Phoenix in my game. Randomly just Valorant Echo and Killjoy being like freaking Valorant GP. But yeah, I don't play Valorant, but That's the point. Yeah, I don't want them again.
I think the point is, as long as they keep it to like the lore world of League of Legends, fine. That's great. TFT should actually, realistically, as long as it's still connected to the fucking Riot client, be used as a testing ground for some of this shit, because it's less serious than people think League of Legends is. Although League of Legends is an inherently dumb, unserious game, people take it very seriously.
Well, I think the game is inherently dumb. The lore is like some
yeah, the lore's fine.
The game itself is dumb. Yeah, the game itself is very dumb. But yeah.
So at the very least, like, feel free to use TFT. But if I ever see a single outside IP in this game, I won't play anymore. You know, like that's.
Okay, I don't know if it's that extreme. Okay, the game is still good, bro.
Nah, bro, I'm not playing fucking SpongeBob SquarePants Vertical, bro.
SpongeBob is not gonna be in the game. Okay, no.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I'm not playing like six fucking Bikini Bottom. You know.
SpongeBob. Look, it won't be SpongeBob. Okay.
Tekken 2 Fortnite.
Look, I'll throw a fit, but like I won't cry if like Jet is randomly in my freaking TFT game. Okay?
I will. That's so ridiculous, dude. That's so unnecessary.
Also, let's be real. Jet is just Akali. Like that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these Valorant champions just freaking leech.
Look, here's what you do, right? If you're gonna bring Valorant units into the game, make them the fucking chibi little legends.
I'm down for that. I'm actually down for that.
Don't put them in my fucking game.
Yeah, don't make them champions. I agree.
Make them my fucking $25 little legends.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But if I do wanna shift the conversation a little bit to just like actual like system changes and units and stuff, I would like to see, and I know that this might be unpopular, but unpopular opinion, I would like to see them swap out a whole bunch of augments and introduce a whole bunch of new augments.
Yeah, I honestly think 50 should go and 50 should come in, basically.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to play. I don't know if I want to play like 8 months of just auto taking rich get richer every time I see.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because in March it's going to be, when you take this, gain 5 gold on 2-1 and then 10 gold on 3-5. You know, it'll be shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the balancing is obviously gonna be really whack because of like the thrash and like
moving
out a bunch of augments. But I would rather be excited to play a new set, have a more chaotic game, and just be bored to death of like picking rich get richer for the 20th time in a row. So.
Agreed. Yeah. And look, final thoughts. Get rid of Colossus. Give me some better tanks.
Oh, and swap out a bunch of the forecasts. I'm down for that too.
Yeah.
Like, about like 80% of the forecast. I'm down for like 80% of the forecast roster to all get swapped out. Like you could probably keep like the vertical ones like Chemtech and like Urgot probably should stay because it's a really big vertical. Yone probably should. No, I don't even know if Yone should stay.
No, you should replace Yone with Yasuo and give him a different ability.
I was gonna say for sure, like out of like Yone, Fiora, Kai'Sa, some of them should be removed. Like there's 3 challenges. Like some of them should definitely be like swapped out for other challenger carries. But
yeah, I would. I would also not be surprised to see them ditch Mutant. You know, like as a trait.
Yeah. Mutant could easily go. Yeah. Like
because they could get rid of Colossus and Mutant at the same time.
Yeah. That stuff can easily go. Yeah. You can honestly just keep Mutant. You can just rework Mundo to be Bruiser Chemtech. You just take away Mutant. It doesn't actually matter. No one plays Mundo for...
And then bring in like a new 1-cost protector, like a little 1-cost protector, and give them like a new.
Oh no! Actually, no. I'm down for 4-cost protector. That's not Scion. I'm down for like actually good 4-cost protector.
Yeah, that's true. Like an actual like tanky protector unit. Like get a new 1-cost, a new 4-cost, make them the same trait.
Exactly.
Have protector be like its own thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down for freaking like 4-cost protector carry or some kind. You know?
Yeah, right.
Like
exactly.
Like a tanky like bruiser, like you know. I'm down for something like that. That sounds kind of good.
Yeah, like longer it stays alive, the more damage it does.
Yeah, because I feel like I feel like protector is honestly just cucked because of Scion right now. Like,
yeah.
And Scion just makes it so hard to actually play like a protector comp.
Yeah, because it's useless. You can't play it.
It's not that it's useless. It's just that he's so dependent on Colossus as a trait. Like I think we talked a bit about this, right? Colossus is so like the fantasy of Colossus, right, is that you can pick up a Colossus unit and just put it in your team. It doesn't work that way because of how valuable damage reduction is. You don't ever really play Colossus without 2 Colossi units in your team. At which point you have no space for other units.
Yeah. Agreed.
No problem.
Well, hopefully that answered a couple of questions about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Colossus is
Look, guys, that's pretty much gonna do it for our episode today. You know, basically reacting to 1124. going over everything that we think. It's going to be a very different game, so I'm really interested to pop back in next week for our next week's episode and see how it's looking, see what's going on, see what's really changed. We're going to have a special episode next week where we review the Arcanist Cup with two of the top 3 players from the Arcanist Cup. So really looking forward to that. Sol, thank you for joining me this evening. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's lovely as always.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to looking forward very much so to getting into this new patch and seeing what's going on. You know, by the time this comes out, it'll basically just be about to drop for most people. So, get your ears into it and let's get it going. Let's get patch 11.24 in our lives. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
All right, Sol, thank you very much.
Sure. All right,
Cheers, guys. Thank you for being here.